We just got a new interview with the guy behind Dragon Ball, Akio Iyoku. He's the executive producer of Dragon Ball and president of Capsule Corporation Tokyo. So he knows all about Dragon Ball. He's the one pulling the strings. And well, he talked a little bit about what's going on with DAIMA and the intent behind DAIMA, why they made it the way they did it. This is a Japanese article on a website called Mantan. So I read it because I do speak and read Japanese, and I'm just going to highlight some of the main points, some of the most interesting things that I thought were in the article. If you enjoy this kind of thing, make sure to subscribe. I don't normally do more timely news kind of things, but if you like this approach, if you like this kind of video, let me know down in the comments, and I'll certainly try because, like I said, I can actually read these articles and summarize them for you. But anyway, let's just get into it. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of editing. I'm just going to give a few thoughts and summarize this thing, and then we'll be out of here. So basically, the most interesting thing here is that Iyoku reveals that the goal of DAIMA, basically, like he doesn't say goal, but basically they tried to target the GT generation, the Dragon Ball GT generation. Now, why is that? Well, because they're the ones that have young kids right now. So what they wanted to make was an anime, a story that would appeal to parents and their children. They wanted to make something that was easy for newcomers to Dragon Ball to jump into, right? They didn't want to have to deal with hundreds and hundreds of episodes of continuity like they would have had to if they would have continued Super at this point. Instead, Dragon Ball DAIMA is a nice jumping on point for even little kids. There are definitely people that don't like GT in Japan. For example, there are people that were talking negatively about DAIMA while it's been airing, people leaving comments and saying this is worse than GT. Oh, this is GT all over again. This is so bad. Or people saying like, I'm not going to watch this anymore. It's just like GT. Like I've seen these comments on X. I've seen people mention this on Japanese YouTube videos. So there is a population that does not like GT. How that compares to the rest of the world, again, I don't know. But there is definitely a population of people that buy GT merch, right? Like just, I think it was just a couple months ago, the Ichiban Kuji line that releases these like figures that you see behind me, Bandai Spirits, the Ichiban, well, in the English world, it's Ichiban Sho, but in Japan, it's Ichiban Kuji. They released a set with like 3 different Dragon Ball GT figures, and well, obviously they sell, right? Like Golden, Ozara, Super Saiyan 4, like all these designs are popular even in the Japanese audience. So who knows? The point here is though that Iyoku says what he said because really the idea isn't so much to target well, to some extent they want to target the GT audience because there's that like nostalgia factor, but it's really to target the audience that has the young kids because they're the ones that are going to indoctrinate their kids into Dragon Ball. The thing about Dragon Ball is it's been around for so long that the original generation that grew up reading the manga and watching the anime is now around 50 years old, if not even older. So again, like this goes back to 1984, right? So if you were 10 years old when it started, publishing the manga, then you're 50 years old. If you were in your teens, you're 55 years old. If you're 20, you're 60 years old. That's an old fan base. But thanks to Dragon Ball Kai, the never-ending video games, and now Dragon Ball Super and all that, there has been always new fans coming in. There's been a big revival. And so there is a younger fan base. But nevertheless, if they don't keep doing that outreach to bring in the young kids, then the population of fans will grow older as time goes on. So yeah, there's an element of like nostalgia, right? Like, oh, remember GT? And I've been critical of DAIMA about that. Like it leaned too much into GT, and sometimes it leaned too much into just callbacks and references. But, it is what it is. Overall, it's been a fun show. But the larger point here is, they're doing this as, of course, a targeted effort to bring in new kids and new people and make it easy for new people to jump on, even if they're not kids. And also like this way to celebrate everything Dragon Ball, right? Because there are definitely references back to the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z in DAIMA. It's not all about GT. Now, something interesting that Iyoku mentions is that the idea of turning all the characters into kids was Toriyama's idea. So to me, that says that originally they were planning to turn just Goku into a kid, and that would have been extra GT-ish, maybe a little too much for my taste, even though it already is for my taste, but maybe that would have been even more so. So I'm happy with everybody turning into kids. I just did a video about why characters like Piccolo and Majin Buu got turned into kids, even though they were never quote-unquote kids. So if you want to check that out, it's the previous video to this one. So that's regarding the larger intent here. Iyoku says that Dragon Ball will be around for 50 years or even more. And so they're always trying to try new things and find new ways to reach new people. Like specifically, he says, with a property like this, it's hard to do an extreme fail, right? Where you absolutely just miss the mark. And I guess implicitly what he means is just completely displease everyone, because there's always going to be, you already have an established fan base. So unless you do a really, really, really bad job, you will always have that fan base there that will at least give you a chance, right? Will attempt to watch it. But he says that if you don't try new things, then people will grow tired of it. So it seems that Daima is part of that effort, even though it is kind of remember this for a lot of it. But anyway, it's good to hear that at least they're thinking about trying new things, because look, Super was fun, but that relentless pursuit of Goku, just going higher and higher, more and more strength, there needs to be a little bit something else, I think, in my opinion, and I think Daima was that refresher that we got. He specifically mentions Super as well, how, like I just said, Super was all about Goku, in his relentless pursuit to become stronger. And that can be a little bit of a harder way for people to get into the show, the franchise, but Daima, kind of bypasses that, and it's also a way to have Goku fight in a different way with these jumping and using the stick in a more dynamic way. He specifically says that, and I thought, oh, that's definitely a good point, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens with Super, but there is no doubt in my mind, and there's rumors of this already going around, right, that Daima will somehow connect later on to what will happen in Super or in whatever else the next series is called. They are establishing a lot of lore here. For example, the whole pointy ears thing, indicating that you are a descendant of the demon realm. Actually, Iyoku mentions that was Toriyama's idea, and he was quite surprised when he learned about that. And also he mentions that this was probably something that he had thought about to some extent. Toriyama had already had this in his mind in perhaps a somewhat vague way, but when he started working on Daima, then I guess he fleshed it out and it became what it is now, where it's quote unquote most of the characters with pointy ears trace their lineage back to the demon realm. And personally, I think this was a really fun way to retcon everything, like for example the Namekians especially, right, where we already had Demon King Piccolo, and he talked about the Mazoku, the kind of demon clan, right, and all that, and so this was a nice way to retcon everything and make it nice and clean, even though, well, it's Dragon Ball, it will never be nice and clean, but clean enough, I guess. But aside from that, Iyoku also mentioned that there's other kind of connection points that may they're there, of course, to all the different series and all that. This seems to be kind of a way for Iyoku to hint that, yeah, Dragon Ball Daima will be connecting to other things throughout the franchise. Later on, it will all unravel in various ways as we explore further along the Dragon Ball timeline. And then finally, the last thing that he mentions is about the upcoming finale, and we do get absolute confirmation that yes, the last episode will be episode 20. He says, they're trying to do things that the fandom will expect, but also kind of surprise people in an unexpected, something unexpected will be happening. And there's rumors going around that were not mentioned in this article, but yeah, something big is going to happen in the next episode, 18 or 19. So definitely make sure to watch that soon after it airs or when it airs. Unfortunately for me, I'm in Hawaii, so the time difference there is just really bad. It's 5:30 a.m. for me, so I have to watch it after I wake up. So I'm definitely going to be doing that. But it definitely sounds like we're going to be getting quite a big ending, and he seems pretty confident in the way it was animated and how it's going to look and all that. He says it's going to look great, it seems. So I'm looking forward to that. that's basically it. There wasn't like anything earth-shattering here, but I did really find the whole like we were targeting the GT generation to be really, really interesting because I hadn't really done the math in my head, but it works out perfectly that GT generation, the ones that actually watched it when they were kids, they're the ones that have young kids now. So that's the perfect generation to target. So hopefully it works out. I know there's been a lot of negativity about like, ratings and all that, but I think Daima, and I've talked about this before and probably one of my breakdowns, Daima is a foundation for more things to come. Like things will, like even if Daima isn't the ratings extravaganza that of course Toei and all that they would have wanted, it doesn't really matter too much because they're still going to be making money off the merchandise, and then the rest of the property, right? What's moving forward from here, the stories and all that, will make reference back to Daima, and this is an investment in new fans as well. This is an onboarding opportunity that will lead to more financial opportunities down the line. So I'm not overly worried about how Daima is performing at the present moment. I think it will end up working out long term, as long as they can stick that landing, hopefully. hopefully. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Do you like this kind of video, like very minimal editing and just me kind of going over something, like news kind of time sensitive thing? If you enjoy it, I'll definitely try more of these videos. But if this is your first time watching this, definitely make sure to check out my other stuff because I do just more evergreen type content talking about Dragon Ball, and there's some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stuff too, and I do want to try other stuff, but right now I've been mainly focusing on Dragon Ball. So subscribe, like, don't forget to comment, and I'll see you in the next one.